I'll start by introducing us. I'm Chera and Linda. I'm with Kemper House in Highland Heights, along with Linda Bliss. We've worked together for almost 20 years. Linda is a nurse, and we've both been in, over the years in administration, helping run. I was an administrator at one point. Linda was our nursing director. So we have a lot of personal stories we share along as we go along our talk. I think the personal stories kind of help to give you just a better understanding of what we have seen with Alzheimer's and dementia, hoarding and rummaging. Linda will go more clinically into, why they might do this, how it's different from other types of hoarding and rummaging, like what you see on like the show Buried Alive. With Alzheimer's and dementia, it's a lot different. So we'll talk about that as we go through this. But just a quick background on Kemper House. We are family owned and operated, and we are a long-term residential Alzheimer's and dementia care community. So everybody with us has some type of memory impairment. Majority of our residents live with us, but then we also have residents who just come for short-term stays, or when there's not COVID going on. We had a daycare program we were running, which hopefully we'll resume that soon. We don't really know the time frame, and then we also have another division of our company, which is Kemper Cognitive Wellness. And I'll give you just some brief information on that. But the Kempers have looked at Alzheimer's and dementia through the years. They've been through it personally with their family members, from one generation to the next. And they just were like, what can we do, so that when you get an Alzheimer's and dementia diagnosis, it's not the terrible diagnosis that there's nothing you can do about it. So they are looking at ways, and we brought on Dr. Nate Bergman to, live a healthier lifestyle to push back getting an Alzheimer's and dementia diagnosis, as well as living well and living better with an Alzheimer's and dementia diagnosis. So we'll touch on that briefly, but let's get into our hoarding presentation. Okay. So, Linda, do you want to start? Okay.
Well, as Chera mentioned, Buried Alive, when the TV program came on the air, it became a popular topic, and people were interested in learning more about it. And the one interesting feature that I discovered was that people with Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia hide things, whereas people with OCD, which you see on the television show Buried Alive, they leave things out in the open. And there's some good explanations for why these types of hoarding are different. So if you want to go to the next slide, Chera.
Sure. So what is hoarding? It's basically collecting to the next level. You're no longer just collecting, it's become a problem. Acquiring and failing to throw large numbers of items that appear to have little or no value. We had a resident years ago that moved in, and when the son was going through the house, he found every battery, burned out light bulb, battery that didn't work anymore, and newspapers, toilet paper rolls that were empty, like from the last 20 years. So these are things. I know Linda has gone to do assessments at houses that were, practically really needed to be condemned. They were not a safe situation. So we'll get more into that. But hours spent collecting non-important items such as silverware, paper towels, and we'll go into more detail as we talk about this. We also, I've seen food items. We had at one point 75 health shakes that were missing out of the refrigerators, and found them in a resident's dresser drawers, in which we had to throw them all out because they were something that needed to be refrigerated. So we'll go into that on the next slide.
We had a lady that, well, first of all of a sudden, all the silverware in the facility was starting to disappear. So the director of dietary put out a memo that said, when you're bussing the tables, please be careful not to throw away the silverware. But the administrator said, I think we have a hoarder. So let's look at the last couple of residents who've moved into Kemper House and do a room search. And sure enough, one of the residents in a chest of drawers, the very last drawer, clear in the back, was probably 40 to 50 pieces of silverware. Now, why she collected silverware, we don't know, but she is or was a retired registered nurse. So we asked a friend if she had worked in surgery, and maybe the silverware reminded her of some of the surgical equipment, and she said no. So, but this is what she chose to hoard. Consider this for a moment. These are things that possibly could cause hoarding, especially in someone with dementia. And our residents now and before now were brought up during the Depression or during World War II. They were brought up during these times, have a feeling of making sure that they had enough for a rainy day. They have a sense of saving things. Saving was a very big thing years ago. You want to go to the next?
Yeah.
We also had a slogan, waste not, want not. I don't know if the children today have ever heard of that. And think about it. Did these folks collect things such as dolls or coins? I know stamp collecting when I was younger was a very popular thing. Now they're taking their habit of collecting to behavior that's extreme hoarding. You want to go to the next one?
Yep. So what do people hoard? We touched on this briefly, but daily necessities, food. We had a resident that moved in and the family told us that he lived close to one of the restaurants in downtown Painesville and he would go to the fast food restaurant, and when they would see him coming, they learned over time to pull all the ketchup packets, napkins, everything off of that little self-serve station, because he would clean them out of sugar packets, salt, pepper, ketchup, all of that, take everything, load it in his pockets. And the interesting thing is he continued that once he moved in. He would take sugar packets, from creamers, anything similar to that he could get his hands on when he would come down to the dining room. So, it's interesting how they choose one item or just a few different items. Garbage. We've had a lot of folks who would not throw the garbage out. Newspaper, magazines, junk. We've had nurses go out and do assessments at homes where the newspapers from the last 20 years were piled up to the point where there were little pathways that they could walk through.
Yeah.
And it was really a fire hazard. I know a few of them were either going to be condemned, threatening to be condemned. Fire department was involved. Silverware, for whatever reason, we've had a couple different residents who've been hoarding silverware. Plastic bags, I haven't seen that too much. Old clothes, paper products, and just stuff. So, Linda, do you want to?
A lady in a facility before I came to Kemper's that she would go around from room to room and collect all the paper towels out of the dispensers. And at least once a week, we'd have to go into her room and collect all the paper towels. And this is very upsetting. We're going to talk about how you get rid of some of the stuff that they collect without causing a catastrophic reaction.
Yeah. We had another gentleman who would wheel himself around in his wheelchair and would steal all the wreaths off all the ladies' doors. And he would shove them all behind him in the wheelchair, to the point by the end he was almost like ready to not even be able to have room to sit in the wheelchair. But he would take them all and then he would take them back to his room. And we just knew, and he would get very agitated if you tried to stop him. So we just let him take them all to his room, and then an hour later he'd forget about it and we'd hang them all back up.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go over this, Linda?
Yeah, they rummage too, because it's a constant driven searching through belongings and stuff. We did some home care, and there was a lady that after breakfast she would go into her bedroom and take everything out of every drawer, out of her closet, pile it up on the bed, and sit there all morning and fold. And it was driving her son crazy. So he called me one day and he was telling me what mom does. And he said, it's driving me crazy. What can I do? And I think, first of all, you need to think about what could she be doing different, or what could she do other than this? Could she be trying to wander or to leave the house? Could she be going into your room and rummaging through your drawers and closet? You have to pick your battles. And as long as it's not hurting anyone, and she seemed to get some enjoyment, and perhaps it was even a task that she remembers doing as a child, folding clothes for her mother. So just be thankful that it's her own closet, her own drawers, and not yours. Or she could actually be looking for something, and she just can't tell you what she's looking for. Often they're spending time looking for important items that they've lost. And of course, if they can't find it, it's not because they lost it. It's usually because someone stole it from them. Because remember, people with dementia have paranoid delusions that people are stealing from them. So as Chera said, you are surprised where they can hide things. And we encourage families, even at home, to don't even throw the garbage out until you've gone through it. We had a gentleman, I assessed his wife recently, and they were quite wealthy. I guess she has a beautiful diamond ring that's quite expensive. And he said that they couldn't find it and they were on vacation. And when they were halfway home from, I think it was Georgia, she said to him, I can't find my ring. So he even went back to the hotel. But sometime between the time she reported it missing, he found it in a shoe. So I told him immediately, what you need to do is get an inexpensive replica of this diamond and trade it. She probably won't know the difference. And put the valuable ring someplace where it'll be safe. So we encourage families to do that too, to be very careful about valuable things. As I said, they have catastrophic reactions when they cannot find what they're searching for, or if you go and rummage through their room and get rid of things. So there's a way of cleaning out closets and drawers and recovering hoarded objects without causing this catastrophic reaction. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we had a gentleman who moved his wife in with us, and as he was cleaning out the house, he found in a Bible, she had put like a $20 bill, like every other page through the whole Bible. So it's real important when you're cleaning out, their area, to really go through everything. We had a lady at Kemper House who couldn't find her dentures, and we found she had wrapped them in a Kleenex and shoved them up inside of like a ceramic, how ceramic items have like a hole in the bottom, that stuck them up inside of the ceramic animal. So it's just amazing sometimes where we find things hidden. So I'll go to the next slide. Reasons for hoarding, rummaging, and hiding. Like Linda said, fear of being robbed was a common delusion, so they're trying to hide the item. Security, the more the better. If they don't keep things, they won't have them for later. Also looking for items they have misplaced or forget what they are looking for. Sometimes I think, we've had people who rummage for like 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, it can also be used as a positive for them, almost like an activity. We have some gentlemen who will give them like a tray of nuts and bolts that's all mixed together in a sorting tray, and they'll just spend an hour or two sorting the nuts and bolts into different little squares. So you can use it as an activity almost. So it's not always a negative thing. It can be something to kind of keep them busy if used properly. Did you want to add something to that, Linda?
No, I think you did really good with that one.
Okay. So possible reasons continued. They hide things, forget where they hid them, blame others for stealing them, which can lead to even more rummaging, looking for now what they misplaced. Eliminating anxiety of deciding whether to throw the item away. They could have a lot of anxiety over, if you've ever watched, and I know it's not Alzheimer's or dementia, but that Buried Alive, like they have so much anxiety. They know, like you went to a house, Linda, to do an assessment, and they admitted they were embarrassed by the inside of their house. They told her before she entered the house. So there's some, knowledge that what they're doing is not necessarily a positive thing.
Yeah.
Loss of object recognition, forgetting the value of something, saving rubber bands, throwing away the checkbook. They lose that filter of what's something that is important, what's not important. It's kind of all mixed together.
Yeah. I did an assessment on this gentleman. He was actually a retired fireman. And he had this huge ball of rubber bands where he would just take one rubber band and wrap it around another one. And he had a ball of rubber bands about the size of a baseball. And his wife said to me, that rubber band ball is more valuable to him than a checkbook or an expensive piece of jewelry, because he has no sense of value of what things are worth. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I go to the next one.
Okay. Possible reasons continued. Rummaging can be the result of boredom. When they are alone, the stuff becomes their focus. Redirection with an activity can help them focus on the activity.
If the rummaging seems to be anxiety producing, of course you want to redirect them and give them an activity that will be reducing this anxiety and to help them feel calm and something they enjoy doing. So you always have to assess the situation. And like the lady that goes into her bedroom every morning after breakfast and takes all the clothes out of her closet and drawers. I mean, there was no anxiety there. She seemed to enjoy what she was doing. It almost seemed like an activity that she was doing that she could be successful at. So if it's not, if they're not enjoying it and it's causing them anxiety, then of course you want to redirect, get them their mind focused on something else. And the hiding or rummaging or saving of food is extremely dangerous, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Okay.
The health risks from hoarding food, ingestion of rotten food, or food that might have insects and rodent infestation. The hoarding of medication. One time when I was director of nursing, a lady from the laundry came to me and she said, look what I found in Mr. Jones's pocket. And it was about 8 medications. And even sometimes when they appear to be taking their medicine, they can pocket it in their cheek. And then when the nurse leaves, spit it out. So this kind of hoarding can be dangerous too, because they need their medication. Or perhaps if they hoard it and then take it all at once, that could be dangerous too. So it's important that they not hoard medication and they take their medication as prescribed. Piles of stuff could result in fires, falls, and injuries. I feel sorry for the police or fire department if they have to go into these homes. I went into a home one time. Mom was going to come and do daycare with us, but it was the daughter that was the hoarder. And I rang the doorbell and she came to the door. I said, "You have a beautiful home." And she said, "Well, you haven't been inside yet." Well, you literally had to walk through piles of stuff clear to the ceiling. I was afraid something was going to fall on me. And then we went into the kitchen through this tiny little path, and there the mom sat in a little corner on a little table and chairs. And the daughter said to me, "Do you mind if we go outside on the patio and sit and talk?" Well, I don't know where else we would have sat anyway. So I said, "Of course not." And she's the one that told me that she realizes that she's hoarding and that, you know, this is dangerous not only to her, but her family. And of course, visitors like me and the police and fire department. So we have to be careful, whether it's OCD or dementia, that hoarding can be a huge problem.
Yeah, and I know, Linda, you told me this years ago, and it's true. With OCD, a lot of times the hoarding is a mess and you can see it and it's visible. It could be the yard. But when they have Alzheimer's and dementia and they're hoarding, I would say almost every case I've seen, they hide what they're hoarding. It's hidden in drawers in their purse. And I have not seen a case myself where the person with Alzheimer's and dementia who's hoarding has a mess everywhere. I don't know. Have you?
No,
Linda?
I haven't either. No, this was the daughter of someone with dementia that had the problem hoarding.
Okay, so interventions. Lock money or valuables in a safe place. If you have anything important, just make sure they don't have access to it. I mean, that's a good thing to do, even if they're not hoarding or rummaging yet, you know, because you never know. Check waste baskets, like Linda said. Once that behavior starts, you never know what can be in there. Check under cushions, drawers, under beds, wardrobes. Know where to look. Refrigerator, freezer, sugar bowl. When you find a hiding place, check it often. A lot of times they'll reuse that same spot. Get extra car keys, eyeglasses, hearing aid batteries. Keep them in a safe place as well.
My mother-in-law had early dementia, and she lived in Florida, and we went to visit her one day or 1 week, and she said, "Now, if something happens to me," she says, "I want you to go into the freezer." And she took out a Sara Lee box, and she said, "In this box, I have some money." And she said, "I used to keep it in the sugar bowl or the flour bowl, I don't know, the sugar bowl." She said, "But someone told me that's the first place that thieves look." So now she keeps it in the Sara Lee box in the freezer. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah. Okay, interventions continued. Make a fake purse. Yeah, I mean, take their regular purse with important things, give them another purse with, we've made this up for residents. We have a lot of residents who will be like, "I lost my purse, I can't find my purse." We'll make them a purse.
Yeah.
I
can't find my wallet.
Yeah. So provide a rummaging box, like we talked about, similar to how I talked about with the gentleman with the nuts and bolts. We also have used laundry bushels, and we'll put like baby or children's clothes in them, and the ladies will just take them out and fold them, and they love the women love the baby clothes. So that's another thing that's worked for us. Display items that can be safely taken, with items that you don't care about that'll keep them busy. And just keep calm. They feed off of our emotion. If we're getting all stressed out and worked up, I've seen caregivers so many times that make their life so much more difficult by the way they're reacting to situations. You have to just remember that they're feeding off of you, you know. Anything you wanted to add to that, Linda?
Well, I think if they're still living at home, that perhaps it comes a time when you have to have their mail delivered to a post office box. I don't know if that's on the next slide or if that's the one that you missed.
Yeah, so we even do that at Kemper, like if they have cards that come that look like a personal card, a birthday card, a holiday card, we'll give that to them. But anything that looks like business mail, a bill, banking, we have that go to the family. They just, yeah, even you have to watch the phone. We've had situations where they're getting either scammed, prior to coming to us, or they're getting tons of, telemarketing calls. You have to really monitor that.
Yeah, my mother-in-law also, she contributed to probably 12, 18 different groups, like, for the pets, the animals, Animal Protective Society, the Warriors. Every piece of mail that she got, if they asked for money, she would have given $5 or $10. And when she went into a nursing facility, we had her mail sent to our house, and we would get stacks of mail from everyone asking for money. So you have to be careful, because these older folks can really be taken for granted, advantage of. So it's,
Yeah, I've heard they get put on some kind of list where they know like who to go to, almost like
really,
targeted. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Decluttering, just throwing away, throwing anything away that can cause a catastrophic reaction. You have to be careful. Throwing things away when they are not around can cause searching and a rage. Don't take things from the person, offer to trade them. Just some suggestions.
Yeah.
Like I said with the gentleman with the wreaths, like if you approached him when he was stealing those wreaths, it would have been a catastrophic reaction.
Yeah.
He would get very angry, combative. He would start swinging, yelling. But if we just waited till he was done and he took them all into his room and would be on to the next task, he didn't even seem to realize when we put them all back on the doors.
Well, I was for work one evening. I left my office and I went to the nurse's station. I put my purse down and went about doing what I had stopped there to do. And I looked up and my purse was gone. And I saw this elderly lady walking down the hallway with my purse. Well, it's not my purse anymore, it's hers. She saw it, she liked it, and she took it. It's not stealing. We'll talk about that too. So I told, how am I going to get my purse back? Because now it's hers. And I told the activities director, and he put a purse together for me, a big purse. He said, now this one is much nicer than the one than yours is. He put beads in there from Mardi Gras and all kinds of things that caught her eye. And she traded with him immediately. But if I had just gone up and said, can I please have my purse back?
Not good.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. If they can't see it, it doesn't exist. Often people keep their belongings out in view so they know where they are. If they are willing to put their possessions away, mark the drawers with large labels, socks, shirts. We have that a lot currently. Just, it's helpful for the caregivers to know where things are, but also the residents as well. And remove non-essential items. Got to think like simplistic. The less clutter, really, the better. They say even smaller spaces are better than big, overwhelming spaces for folks with dementia. That's why our building was specifically designed. Even our closets are not humongous because it's just not good to have big, overwhelming spaces for them.
The more the space, the more stuff.
Yeah.
I've even encouraged families, if there's a couple chest of drawers in a room, get rid of one of them.
Tips to consider. If they seem to be enjoying it, then it's probably okay. We have so many times when families cause themselves so much more problems because they argue with their loved one, or like the simplest little thing they do will really upset them. And we have to tell families all the time, like, do not argue. We had one of our vice presidents at Kemper House will tell the story about her grandma and grandpa and how her grandmother couldn't even visit her husband towards the end when he was in an assisted living because she would continually argue with him and say, "You know who I am. We've been married for 50 years. Don't you know my name?" And she could have had such a better, last year or two with her husband had she just changed her approach to being with him. Like, it's okay if they don't remember your name. It's okay if they, you have to have a new relationship with this new person. They're a whole new person with Alzheimer's and dementia. So,
Yeah.
providing psychological support during and after cleaning. A lot of times with our folks, I would say they're not really around, Linda, when the cleaning process is going on.
No.
Sometimes by then they've moved to a facility and we're hearing the family going through their house, where they had lived previously.
Yeah.
Minimize the number of hiding places. What do they hoard? That's different. We've seen they seem to stick to what they're hoarding through the whole process. I haven't seen someone who's significantly changing the items they're hoarding as it progresses.
That's true.
What do they hoard or rummage? Remove discarded items from premises immediately.
Or they'll rummage through that garbage can.
Yeah. I would say the majority of the cases I've seen are more like silverware, sugar packets, health shakes. Like, I haven't seen too many garbage. Have you, Linda, with Alzheimer's and dementia?
No, a lot of paper products.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Next.
Oh, more tips to consider. If they seem like it's hurting or putting them at risk, we want to redirect them. Oh, we had a gentleman who was constantly, he had suitcases in his room and he would pack up all his belongings into these suitcases and duffel bags. And he would go down to the fire exit and be pushing on the fire exit, trying to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he needed to get to the ports of Cleveland. I'll never forget. He always said the same place. I'm going to the ports of Cleveland. And finally, we talked to the family. We're like, we think these suitcases are triggering this behavior. So they removed all the bags and the suitcases. And I don't remember him doing it after that.
No, I know.
Yeah. Living at home, have the mail, we already talked about, have the mail delivered to the post office or have it forwarded to a family member's house. Safety locks on drawers with hazardous products. There has been times that we even at one point had to lock the refrigerator because we had someone who was taking, like, the kitchen would stock the dining room refrigerator. And then they'd go back there a few hours later for mealtime and it was like empty. But that doesn't happen very often. I think right now we have all of them are fine, but every now and then you'll have someone who's hoarding the food like that.
Next.
You want to talk about this, Linda?
Well, they're not really stealing because the process of stealing and the cognitive ability to do that, they just don't have it. It's just that if they see something that they like, they'll take it. There's a little area in your brain called the hippocampus that it's kind of like it tells us when we do right from wrong, and they lose that ability. So everything lying around is fair game. So that's another reason why valuables have to be locked up. And they don't realize that taking someone else's possession is wrong.
We call it shopping when
Right.
they're walking around taking we just say they're shopping. We had one lady though, they would take, the activities department would take a small group of residents to the dollar store, and they would give them all like $5 or whatever to go shopping. Well, she would be loading her pockets up with items like literally shoplifting. I mean, to us it wasn't shoplifting, but it was shoplifting.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure we took her to different activities and not to the shopping activities.
Right.
In public, because you never know how that's going to be construed. People don't always understand
Well,
it.
sure. Well, as the director of nursing, I had families come to me and say that their mom's roommate stole mom's sweater. And I'd have to explain to them that it's not really stealing. It's not something that they do because they're bad people or, they don't have any conscience. They just don't have that ability anymore to know right from wrong. A lot of folks with dementia do have very inappropriate social behaviors. So I suppose stealing could be considered one of those, but they're not stealing.
And the Alzheimer's Association has little cards that you can slip the waitress when you're out, and that just says on the back, my loved one has Alzheimer's or dementia, like, I think
Please be patient.
Right, please be patient, something to that effect.
Yeah.
So that you can just nonchalantly, tell someone so that maybe they're a little more patient than they would have been.
Sure. Next.
Okay. Examine the behavior, the 5 R's.
I didn't know that one was in there. Go ahead.
Okay.
Nancy Mace also wrote the book, The 36 Hours.
36-hour day.
If you're interested, Linda, that's a great book.
Basically explaining the life of a caregiver and how it's a never-ending job, basically, and giving tips and advice on how to, coping and caregiving strategies, really, when you.
Yeah. And Linda Bliss has a really good book out too.
Yes, if anyone's interested, Linda Bliss wrote a book. It's a caregiver's guide to Alzheimer's and dementia, and it pretty much sums up our whole philosophy via Kemper House. I can, put one aside for you to pick up at Kemper House if you were interested. And we don't charge for those. Those are free.
Okay.
Just contact me. I'll give you my info at the end. I'll give you my phone number.
Okay.
So reconsider is a problem for the person or a problem for me? That's a really good question, because a lot of times it's a problem for the caregiver, but not really for the person that they're taking care of. Just
I can
reassessing.
definitely see that one, that sometimes it's me and not my mom. So.
Yeah.
And I can relate too. My mother-in-law lives at Kemper House, so
Yeah.
and right now I'm the only family member who can really see her. So yeah, that's a challenge. Every day I have to kind of tell myself, reassess what could be causing the problem or the behavior. Rechannel, can the behavior be expressed without it causing a problem? Redirect, we do so much redirecting at Kemper House. Let's go have a cup of coffee, Linda. How many times have we said that?
I know, and I tell it in, because I do a lot of CEU programs for professional health care. And I did one for chaplains and social workers down at Metro Hospital. And this one chaplain said to me, how much coffee can these people drink? And I told her, I said, well, it's decaffeinated, so.
So redirecting, how can I distract the person from the behavior? We do a lot of this.
Right.
They're really focused on something that is a problem. We do try to get them involved in something different and redirect them. Reassuring, even if I can't make the behavior go away, I will be here for the person and show love and respect. Like, reassuring, I think a lot of times revolves too around the repetitive questions. Sometimes we have a resident who just keeps asking the same question over and over again. Where is my loved one? Where, And like Linda will say, they're not really looking for an answer. They're just looking for reassurance.
Okay.
Okay, consider
That's a whole
this.
nother, that's a whole nother lecture.
Yeah, a whole hour.
Okay, we
kind of
got 5 minutes.
Oh, so consider this. We all rummage. You get up in the morning and rummage through your drawer trying to find the right thing to wear. People with dementia do it more. It is a meaningful and pleasurable activity, not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
They are sorting things.
Right.
Their thought process is just different than ours. They really don't. I think we have an end goal and they really don't, you know. We all hoard to some extent. If you're in a restaurant, someone takes a few packets of sugar or the saltine crackers, it's when it becomes a problem that it goes to the next level. People with dementia do it more. It is usually a meaningful and pleasurable activity for them. But they have this need to collect things. And you know what? I would say it's only a small percentage of folks with Alzheimer's and dementia. I wouldn't even say it's half of them. The hoarding, I would say, I mean, if I just had to, I would say 5 to 10% of our residents hoard. I think it's a much smaller percentage than you might think.
Right, I agree.
Okay. So this is a picture of someone the pictures I have are more folks with OCD that are hoarding, like you'd see in Buried Alive.
Yeah.
Now that's a little bit different, like a more organized type of hoarding. However, again, most people with Alzheimer's and dementia are hoarding and hiding the items. You're not going to see them openly like you see these items.
Okay.
And then last, here is our information. If you want to reach me, if you're interested in the book that Linda wrote, give me a call at that 4610600 number.
Okay.
You can, I'm not always at the office. I sometimes work from home or I'm on the road, but you can leave me a message with your name and phone number. I should also have put my email on there. You can email me as well. It's cihnat@kemperhouse.com. I would be happy to arrange for you to have one of Linda's caregiver guides, because they're I hear families all the time saying what a great resource.
Okay. No, that was great.
Also, if you would like, we have a Zoom support group we run, and a lot of other, we're doing a book club right now with the author. She's a best-selling Amazon author, Labina Fleming, who wrote a book about her experience taking care of her mother with dementia. So there's a lot of really good programs we're doing. Kemper Cognitive Wellness is doing a wellness series. If you want to share me to put you on the list to get all that information, I can do that as well with your email address.
Well, Labina is having a book club. What,
Yeah, so
Wednesday afternoons?
Yeah, Wednesday, I believe it's at 2. I can send you out that. Also, we have a Zoom support group tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, which is just a small, intimate group. Really, really good group. Some people's loved ones live at Kemper, some live in the community. It's open to everybody.
Oh, okay.
And Linda and I are both on the support group generally.
Okay.
Usually, yeah.
It helps to hear other journeys. It helps us with our journeys.
Yes. No.